makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravin.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Lori Purnell. Lori is the founder of Spencer She, a company helping businesses follow health and safety rules. With over 40 years of experience, she is an expert in dealing with dangerous waste and has written important guides on worker safety. Her firm also offers special training and tech tools to keep workplaces safe. Good morning, Lori. What a pleasure to have you here with me today. Can you share the story behind founding Spencer She and what motivated you to start your own business in the field of occupational health and environmental compliance?
Well, good morning, Nagelia. It's good to visit with you. Yes, Spencer She, which really is an acronym for Spencer Safety, Health, Environmental, is what we do. And I started Spencer back in the 1980 era. Actually, it was 1980 because there were no other organizations out there in the southeastern U.S., much less any place else that I had seen, where individuals could participate in a broad spectrum to assist manufacturing organizations to comply with emerging regulations at the time. And utilizing our technologies and our training from education, I decided to start the endeavor. And so that's how it got started. I started it after working in manufacturing and saw the need while I was in manufacturing, working simply as an environmental engineer, working alongside of an industrial hygienist in health and safety. But when we started, it was that there were no positions available for me in the Birmingham area that I wanted to go to work for. And so it was like, well, there's no one doing this service and I can't find a job anywhere else. So I'm just going to start the business.
You are not scared because you said 1980. So which means you're taking a very big chance by starting on your own.
I did not know fear, nor did I know the word failure. I did not know that was even an option. It's naivety on my part, I guess, or either just strong stubbornness, but I did not know failure. And the company was in the black within 6 months.
This is amazing.
Yeah. It was timing and it was the need.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you picked the perfect time, the perfect moment that people actually need this to create that.
The EPA and OSHA had just began and were just figuring out what they were going to do and be and look like. And with the first sets of regulations, it was certainly easier for anyone that wanted to learn what the laws were to learn them then. And then to learn the newer ones as over the years, over the past 45 years. So when you or 44 years, when you're looking at regulations right now for any young person to come on board and think that they could learn all of the environmental, all the health and safety regulations in a short period of time is naive. There's really no way that you can do that. It takes many years and people really marvel of what's, what the experience is, but also the fact that I have all the retention of the information. It's important to note, though, that it took all those years of repetitive use of those regulations to be able to continue the retention.
So when we're talking about regulation, all these things, Spencer, she offered that, but how exactly that works?
How do regulations work?
Yeah, because when you said
regulations,
you create them or you make sure companies are following them, you teach to the employees. How does that Spencer She take that and offer it to companies and other people?
Absolutely. Perfect question. So basically what we do is, let's take someone calls us and say, hey, OSHA says we need to call you, or EPA says we need to call you, or someone like you, right? We need some assistance. So they call and we say, okay, the first thing we need to do is to find out if your organization is required to comply with these regulations. So there's some regulations, for instance, in health and safety for different types of manufacturing organizations. For the lumber business, there are regulations. There are general industry regulations, some for the marine regulations, shipbuilding, et cetera. There's some for construction. So depending upon what area you're in, we go in and we perform a risk assessment. We do an audit of all their files. In other words, we do what they call a gap assessment to see what the gap is between what the regulations say they must have and what they actually have. Do they have policies in place? Do they have procedures in place? Do they have all the engineering controls in place and also that includes administrative controls? Do they have a robust worker education program in place? That's for the health and safety side of things, which is the first two parts of SHE. The last part of E, it would be the E, which is going to be environmental. Environmental is broken down, if you think about it, into air emissions, into water emissions, into waste and wastewater and other types of emissions that would then have to be dealt with off-site potentially. So all the regulations within EPA are focused in one of the emission type of points or discharges. So we would go in with them and look at, again, what industry they fall in, and then we would provide them with regulations they have to follow. We would assist them with identifying what their issues are, quantify them with sampling, monitoring, air monitoring, noise monitoring. We would do it with the ability to test the water. We actually collect samples. We work with laboratories, independent laboratories, because we like to stay in a situation where we could be completely defendable if necessary, if ever anything was questioned within our organization. So using independent laboratories for all the things that we do, we use quality control in place to reassure it. We then perform a review and we apply for permits. These applications are quite complex at times and quite simple at other times, but they are for the purpose of doing the providing them with the roadmap going forward. Because once the agency that happens to be the approving agency approves it, then they will send back a permit. Then they start inspecting the facility, and they will end up expecting the customer, or the customer, our customer, to start complying with the conditions of the permit. So then we go back in and we assist them with the things that they need to do to rise to the occasion to comply with the permit. So, yeah.
But Laurie, is it any type of companies? Is there a focus here? Are we talking about your company can work with restaurants? Are we talking about military? So what type of companies we are looking at?
So we have a sweet spot, right? So it's not that we don't work with restaurants, because we have with their grease traps. It's a very lovely industry, but most of our sweet spot is with small to mid-size manufacturing plants, meaning that we are typically working with organizations that have anywhere from 40 to maybe 500 employees on site. And so that would be the small to mid-size manufacturing plant. It does not mean that we don't work with large organizations. We do work with like Berkshire Hathaway and a lot of their different organizations or sectors that are under that umbrella. And so we also work with the military. We do support to the military by assisting their suppliers to comply with the private industry regulations for certain aspects of what they do.
This is really cool. So when we're talking about plants, are we talking about in the cannabis business as well, or we're talking about certain type of plants? Can you kind of give us an idea?
Sure. So a plant is a manufacturing facility, and I use the term plant because of the fact that it's supposed to be kind of interchangeable with facility. But what do they manufacture? They manufacture everything from catfish fillets, which we work in the food industry, all the way to automobile parts or
Gotcha.
or garbage trucks. So we're looking at size wise across the board. So our emphasis has always been in heavy duty transportation. So we work to assist with wheels and hub manufacturing. We work in facilities that are making bumpers, that are making cockpits for trucks and also for vehicles.
I figured there was when we were talking about plant, we were not talking about real plant.
Correct. No, I'm not. Correct. Yeah.
But Spencer She is recognized as a certified woman-owned business. How has this certification impacted your business operation and opportunities in the industry?
Oh my goodness. I was rocking along thinking I was the solo entrepreneur forever. Just like, okay, I'm doing this thing. Yes, I've got a few employees and this is wonderful and great. And then I came upon one of the companies I worked with, and the supplier diversity person within that organization came to me and she said, "Are you not a woman, a WBE?" And I went, "No." She said, "You're kidding me. I have got to get you at least connected with that group." So here she is, one of the sponsors, not even a WB herself, but she's one of the sponsors to assist. So it was wonderful. So once I embraced that, it opened up so many doors for me. So now I'm not only doing work with the large WBEs like Milo's Tea, like Thompson Tractor Company, like a number of other large businesses, but I'm also doing the B2B businesses with the smaller WBEs. I'm assisting them and they're assisting me in other ways. And so it has developed something I used to call an old boys network that I was envious of. We now have our network. So it's wonderful support. And recently I completed a training for executives on business through the EOS system, Wells Fargo, We Ignite. And it has offered me some things that seemed foreign, such as, Lori, you don't have to do it all. You can actually utilize the team for more of what you think you're responsible for. So it's opened great doors for me.
Yeah. But Lori, you have been doing this since 1980.
Yes.
You can look at it, time flying, right? But
yes.
You stay within the business for that long. May I ask, why do you stay within it? You didn't make a switch or anything like that?
What's wonderful about this business is it started out strictly as environmental, as I mentioned first on, is that, my degree path was civil engineering, environmental. And so it was an evolutionary process. I actually was doing work in health and safety by doing air monitoring and noise monitoring at the large manufacturing plant I worked at that had 7,000 employees, where I started right out of college. I was the only female engineer. I was the only environmental engineer on staff, and there were 500 engineers, 500. So the normal employment we deal with as a corporation with our different customers, right, our sweet spot is the total number of engineers we had at that facility. So it was like a mega plant. And so I was in charge of so many things. I ended up being able to get off the ground and running so quickly. And I was allowed to do all these training. I was allowed to go and lobby for certain regulatory processes to be implemented because of what we felt so passionate about. And so with all of that, I ended up being able to turn it around and say, okay, what can I do with all these other things that I've also learned while I was there? So slowly but surely, I realized I loved people. I loved to be able to train and instruct and to teach people a better way of doing things, or a safer way, or at least to raise an awareness for them. And so from there, it evolved into the safety programs. And then I found myself going, I think I need another degree. So I got a degree from the School of Public Health.
Just keep. So pretty much you build this from the ground up, and I can understand why leave it. And I guess the reason why I asked you that question, because I meet other women that start company and they grow it big, and at the end they sell it out, and that company grow big. It was started by a woman,
right,
but didn't get recognized by a man, because after it go big, that woman sold it out to a bigger company that take it over and take all the credit for it. And usually I'm like, why would you want to do that?
Right.
Because you're already big. That's the reason why they want it in the first place. Why don't you just keep it?
Right. Exactly. And so, for me, I've had a little flack given to me about what I'm about to say, but it was like it was my firstborn child. Do you give away your child if you don't have to?
Child? No. You don't.
No,
you don't. You raise your child.
I have been approached. You raise the child. You raise it upright. You get it to where maybe at some point it becomes independent, but you never leave the guidance. You never back off from guidance. So no matter what my role is in the organization, as it shifts to where I'm allowing more people to do more things, I'm still there to catch it.
You're still the mother.
Mm-hmm. Still Mama Lori.
But you have authored texts that serve as reference for health and safety training. So what inspired you to write these books, and how do you think they have contributed to worker safety and emergency response?
My career has been so good to me. There was a period in time after I gave birth to my son that I had slowed a bit as far as still practicing. We still had several baseline customers that we were working with, and I took an opportunity to be the program director for the Center for Labor Education and Research at the University of Alabama. So with that, I was able to manage a grant through the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, where we received lots of money to train workers in private sector on how to comply with the HAZWOPER standards. That's hazardous waste operations and emergency responders. And this is a regulation set up by OSHA. And it was set up with the need that so many workers were finding themselves on Superfund projects. And I don't know if you know that term or not, but there's a lot of places in this country that are considered highly contaminated, like Love Canal, the Valley of the Drums in Kentucky. And those are two well known. And so with those sites, they saw that there was a need to protect these workers, because at that point in time, there were no real regulations to provide assistance on hazards assessment or any of that nature. So that's what the regulation, what the regulation was for, that the grants were set up to have 11 grantees across the U.S. to participate in establishing the programs. So we ended up establishing the program, and we probably trained well over 12,000 workers over the next 6 years. And in that 6-year period of time, we wrote 2 textbooks. One was on the hazardous waste workers operations, and the other was on the emergency responders operations. So the textbook is basically nothing more than the technical manual that would be used.
Manual.
So it's a manual.
So
yeah, but it's not as much a training manual as much as it would be their reference manual for accompanying a training class if they wanted to use that.
So pretty much when they're giving the training, they can give that book, they can follow that book to give the training.
That's correct. It would be a great instructor assistance manual. Yes.
And you published 2 of them, right?
Yes. Yes, the first one was on hazardous waste workers, and the second one was for emergency responders. And the difference in the 2 is that hazardous waste workers are going typically to a site that they have established the hazard zone and they're going the same place every day. And as is progressing to be cleaned up, the hazards become less and less. Whereas with an emergency responder, they find themselves going to a train derailment, or they're taking themselves on a highway emergency, or maybe to an industrial explosion of some kind. And so when they're doing that, they're always going into an unknown environment. And so because of that, they have to have a much higher level of reconnaissance and ways to do real-time monitoring to make sure they're protecting themselves when they go in to do the response. So the difference in the two trainings is that.
But I'm guessing it's not the normal type of books you go to Amazon, you buy them, you need to get them in a certain place, right?
Actually, you can buy them on Amazon. It is amazing what you can find on Amazon today. It is amazing. Van Nostrand Reinhold was the publisher originally, and then it was then there's been a couple of edits since then with the Center for Labor Education. Then edited the documents after I left, and because I received a bunch more customers, and I segued away after I had served my time as the program manager, and I felt confident that it was going the way it should go. And so I left a good management team in place. But so I'm not sure the edition publisher at this point.
You also have developed MyMomentum, an innovative technology platform for managing compliance records and audits. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Goodness gracious, yes. So I went through, after we joined WBE, it was like, okay, fine. We need to get a marketing consultant in here. We can create our marketing plan. All these tools that were now at my disposal. So I said, I don't want to become like the man in Central Park that has the trench coat on that he opens up and there's a microwave under this arm and a Rolex and, a refrigerator over here for sale. But I do want to have connectivity to our focus. And so one thing we have found is, trying to say this tactfully, is that most people in manufacturing workplace are not women. And those individuals are not, their strengths are not in filing documents very well. Their organization skills for filing documents lies more as a woman's trait. We're able to think more in depth about how to save things in a way that we can recover them, right? And so I found myself going in and basically being a glorified file clerk, in the sense that I would have to go in and segregate all their documents and put them in. And I color coded their files, believe it or not. So anything for air emissions went in a blue folder. I had it simplified so that they could go back and at least know, go to the blue folder if I want to find something on the air permit. So then we took it a step lower than that, or much deeper, and we went into specifics and files. And then we created, an electronic file cabinet. So once we created that electronic file cabinet, we had already uploaded everything in each folder. So the folder then becomes the air compliance folder. So when you look inside that folder, it's listed in the order that the files are listed in their file cabinet. So it gives us the ability. So when they call us screaming that the inspector is on site and they don't know where the files are, and then I'll say, I'll email them to you. So we realize the significance of having a plan B. And so, and so the challenges never really eased up at all for us. And we're trying to go, we're trying to teach these guys how to fish. We've got to stop teaching them that they need to call us because we'll answer their questions immediately. And that's so much easier than having to learn our file system. So, I guess the evolution was just out of necessity. In that marketing program, we decided a product. So that product was going to be some form of a records management system that would allow us to do some other things. And lo and behold, we came across the product MyMomentum, and we worked very closely with the individual that developed it. We're helping with a lot of the development going forward. He is a great person as a cohort to work with. Basically, what we do is we have been able to empower our customers through a paperless compliance streamlined system. Not only can you go on your cell phone and go around and do these audits that have normally taken up 7 pieces of paper a week for audits, now there's no paper. Can you imagine the paper? Because you have to retain it for 5 years. So 5 times, 365 is a lot of paper. And then trying to keep it straight is also another issue. And that's just one minor subject where auditing is required. So they're easily challenged at a general industry level to do about 20 different audits a month easily. And all of those, some of those are done more frequently than daily. Some of those are done twice daily. Some of those are done weekly, and some of those are done monthly. And so it's a great empowerment.
But what you did is awesome, though, because you saved them a lot of time, not just time, but also money, because you have to buy the paper. It's not free.
Correct. And also it's about, ESG to a certain extent, carbon footprint. At some point, these organizations are all finding themselves being evaluated against ESG because these larger organizations that they may be a supplier to, they're finding are requiring them to rate themselves and to come up with something in ESG. So being able to utilize not only that we have provided them pollution saving programs, but that we also have assisted them in paper reduction across the board is significant. That the biggest thing is that they're starting to take more responsibility for their records. They're wanting to create, because they can create their own inspections within the software. It's that flexible. So we have taught them how to do that. Now, do they do it often? No. But they will utilize the inspections that are in there, and they see the benefits to how to do that. We have, in addition to that platform, we have a training platform, and we feel that training is not necessarily meant to be only online. It's not necessarily meant to be in person or even hybrid. There's got to be a combination. And it depends on the circumstances. And so we have a online platform that we utilize, and it is through our spencer-she.org website. So anyone that wants to sign up can do it through our spencer-she.com website. And the programs are across the board, from the OSHA Institute organization training classes, which are the OSHA 30-hour class, the OSHA 10-hour class, as well as other certification classes, as well as just monthly topics of focus, such as we get into specifics of health and safety, such as electrical safety, for instance, machine guarding, things of that nature.
And you said anyone can sign up for them?
Sure. They could go to our website, and if they wanted to, there's PayPal is associated with it. So all you would have to do is to go in. You could sign up for a class, pay for it right there. You'll take your class. Once you've completed your class, you'll receive a certification because your login will be your email, and you'll be assigned a password.
Easy to go. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But you have, like you said earlier, you have been doing this since 1980. But what's next for you and Spencer-She? What is next? What's in the agenda for the next 10 years?
Yes. So 10 years is it. That's our goal. That's where we are. So it's more about revenues, and it's more about growth for building the frame of the organizational frame is built. It's just a matter of adding to the positions because we are lean and mean right now. We are lean and mean. So by adding an individual between me and some of the technical support teams will take me more out of the purely technical and more into quality control, but it will allow other individuals to then participate. I also need to add one more person to our technical team, but we have geologists, environmental scientists, we have mapping specialists, we have engineers, and we also have blog writers. We have adult worker education trainers that are on site, that assist with all of these programs that you see that come onto our website or the things that we are actually providing to our customer base.
So pretty much for the next few years, it's looking to grow the team even bigger than what it is now.
Yes, the team, we're looking at growing another 30% is about where we're looking at growing. And it would be slow growth. This team works like a well-oiled machine. Let's forget the word family. Let's just go straight to what it is. Yeah. It is a well-oiled machine. Everyone knows this happens, this happens. They all know their roles. They all know how well it's defined. These are the procedures in place, and they know when they kick into gear and when the next person kicks into gear. And so, we're human. So there's always a drop ball, but we all have our check and balance system. So it works really well. So finding the right people for the position, it takes a bit. So it might take a couple of years for us to find that. But we have 3 key positions for sure that we're looking at trying to add, and possibly 5.
Possibly 5. Lori, you have been doing this for a while, so you learned a lot throughout the past few years, especially as a woman in the company, the industry that you are in. It's a tough one to be in. So what advice would you give to other women that would love to do something like that, even if it's not the same as your company, but just starting something, just to start out? I mean, like just taking the first step. For you, like you said, you were stubborn, right? Failure was not an option, and not trying wasn't an option either. You were just like, I want to do this. I'm going to go for it. I don't care what else is going to happen. You went for it and you did it. You succeed on it. And you are an example for women. What would you like to say to them?
So I feel an obligation to give back. So I do mentor women through the WISE program for women engineers. And so what I tell them is that when you realize what your passion is, when you realize what it is, don't go get advice about whether you should do it or not. Go get advice on ways to achieve it. Not ways to not achieve it or why you shouldn't do it, but only ask for advice for how to get to point that you're trying to achieve. And so if you're asking in that way, you will always get what's needed for that next step. You'll always get the correct advice, but it's how you ask for it. So I tell them to always consider their focus. For me, the focus started as environmental compliance. I realized that there were ways to branch from that. So I didn't always have a full-time job in environmental. So I spent that time going over here, cross-selling, if you will, into health. So I could do air monitoring and noise monitoring. I cross-selled over here into safety. I love getting up in front of folks and talking. Let me be the center of attention. I mean, my heavens. But also that I was able to provide them with something because it's important to be able to give back. And so all those things. So you need to, whatever that focus is of yours, realize that you need to be able to figure a way to divert from that slightly to cross-sell so that you can smooth out your valleys and your mountains, that you have a way to sustain yourself in your organization and understand that there are going to be some lows, but that's the time when you gear up, you get creative, and you figure ways that you can then do more of your diversity so you can sustain yourself better, because a narrow focus will be a problem.
That's true. How can someone reach out to you or reach out to the team of Spencer Dashi?
They're welcome to reach out to us through the website, info@spencer-she.com, or they can reach out to me personally. I would be more than happy to have a discussion with anyone. I enjoy it immensely. And that's going to be Lori P. Purnell, Purnell, at spencer-she.com.
Well, I thank you so much, Lori, for all you are doing, because a lot of women goes into business, right? A lot of us doesn't stays. Sometimes we don't have the support, we don't have we don't believe in ourselves, and sometimes we're just carrying too much in our shoulder as well, too many things at once, and then we let the business go so we can focus on other things we think that's more important to us. But when women like yourself stand up and continue and keep fighting, that fight, you are not doing it just for yourself. You might think at the moment you are doing it just for yourself, right? But if you look at it in a bigger picture, you are doing it for all of us as women. The one that's here right now and the ones that are coming in, that's going to need the support, that's going to see that, wait, this one, Lori did this from 1980 to that year, and that company is still growing even after she passed on from this world. I can too.
Yes.
So that great example is what we need to keep on pushing forward for the next generation. And
absolutely.
Please, don't quit, ever.
That is not the plan. The plan is to bury me working in the office.
I can see your ghost waking up like, I'm here for work. Wait, nobody can hear me? Well, whatever. Just
hello,
gonna go do my
I'm
thing.
here. Hello.
Can you guys pay more attention? I'm still the boss. But yes, what you are doing is awesome. When I was reading about you, I'm like, wow, this is like an industry that is hard for a woman to stay on. And when you're even manufacturing, it's very hard to find women in this industry.
Yes.
It's like male-dominated industries.
Yes. We were recently on an Army base over in a special ops operational area, which was like very exciting. And we were told not to look this way or to look that way. So of course we didn't, because we had all these big guys with machine guns around us and stuff. But we were doing air monitoring on their property for a particular supplier of products used by special operations. And so we're developing a safety data sheet for them once we get the data back from all of that. And it was just so exciting. Most of our work is exciting because we're helping people, but this was exciting just because we were dealing with special operations. And so it is really wonderful to see all the different things that we get an opportunity to do. It's in consulting, it's a new world every day. It's fabulous.
Mm-hmm. And look at it this way. A woman is behind it. So now other women can say, hey, she's doing it. I can too. Why not?
Absolutely.
And you become the role model, right?
Yes. I try to be a role model. I understand that we all can have our moments, but I do try to help out young women who reach out to me. I'll be glad to mentor anyone. I have had people reach out to me through LinkedIn, and that's also a way that they could reach out to me, because I have a personal page in LinkedIn, and also we have the company page on LinkedIn.
And I think that you are already doing a lot. Just going out there and then letting other women knows that, hey, I can support you, and this is something you can actually do too if you want to. So I think that itself, it's a lot. Anything else you'd like to share with us today before I let you go?
I just appreciate this time, to talk with you. I've worked so hard over the years that I forget. It's like, okay, so maybe it would be good to make a presentation or to try to give back and communicate more about what we're doing, because our noses have been to the grindstone and we're looking at our objectives for our customers that we want to meet. So I just appreciate the time that you've taken to be with me today. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you being here with us today, and it's great. It's wonderful to have you, especially a
Thank
role
you.
model as yourself. A lot of time when people are looking at role models, they're looking at the actors, right, the singers. And for me, I was raised to looking at the role model is the woman that you don't see in TV every day, the woman that
Yes.
you actually never heard of them at all. They have a lot to teach. Go to that woman. That woman can teach you a lot, and you are that woman. That woman that's not in front of the scene every day, that is behind, but with so much knowledge ready to pass on to the next generation. So I thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.